we'll call the meeting to order. Everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could everyone please remain standing? Mr. Dempsey has a moment of silence.
We'd like to recognize the people in Texas, the tragedy we just heard, had occurred the last week or so. And so we want to just take a few moments and think about them and send prayers, which are definitely needed.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Campbell. Here. Dempsey.
Yes.
Fournier. Here. Hammond.
Oh, here.
Crop.
Here.
Menser.
Here.
Voorhees.
here.
I'll entertain a motion to excuse Commissioner Hammond.
I'll move that we excuse Commissioner Hammond.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Campbell.
Yes.
Dempsey.
Yes.
Fournier.
Yes.
Crop.
Yes.
Menser.
Yes.
Voorhees.
Yes.
Okay, we'll move on to announcements, acknowledgements, communications, and reports. And sorry, I gotta pull up my screen here. We'll start with our proclamation of our Juneteenth, and then we will move on to a art center. Oops, sorry here, my proclamation isn't pulling up. There we go. Okay, so whereas President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863, formally abolishing slavery in the United States of America, and whereas when Union Army General Gordon Granger landed at the Texas port city of Galveston in 1865 as the Civil War drew to a close, one of his first actions was to read General Order Number 3, which stated all slaves are free and former masters and slaves have absolute equality of personal and property rights. And whereas the main goal in having Juneteenth celebration is to commemorate and perpetuate the heritage, culture, and contribution of African Americans, and whereas June 19th has a special meaning to African Americans is called Juneteenth, combining the words of June and 19th, and has been celebrated by African American communities for 155 years. And now, therefore, I, Laura Kropp, Mayor of the City of Mount Clemens, on behalf of the City Commission, do hereby declare June 19th, 2022 as Juneteenth in the City of Mount Clemens, Michigan, and urge all residents to become more aware of the significance of this celebration in African American history and in the heritage of our nation and city. In witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of Mount Clemens to be affixed this 19th day of June, 2022. Okay, and now we will go ahead and move on to Agenda 4B, which will be the Anton Art Center presentation. Mr. Phil Gilchrist, from the Director of the Anton Art Center, is here to make that presentation. Mr. Gilchrist.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. My name is Phil Gilchrist. I'm the Executive Director of the Anton Art Center here in Mount Clemens. I appreciate you having me this evening to share with you a new public artwork that we have been working to complete with a couple of area artists over the last several months. As discussed in the cover letter provided to the Commission, the Anton Art Center embarked on this new public art project as an initiative with our IDEA Council, which stands for Inclusivity, Diversity, Equity, and Access. This council was established in 2020 to provide guidance to our staff and board on ways that we can create a more welcoming and inclusive art center. The mural project was informed through a series of community conversations which we held here in Mount Clemens that focused on topics related to underrepresentation in the arts and at the Anton Art Center, with the primary purpose of uncovering BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, and other people of color experiences related to the Anton Art Center and the broader arts community. One of the most significant takeaways from early discussions was that there is very little art by artists of color that is currently included in the city's public art collection. We found it within our ability to use our platform as a center for the arts to mount a new public artwork that intentionally creates this space for Black artists, while also allowing these artists the ability to highlight Black history and experiences. What you have before you this evening is a near final draft of the mural concept by graphic artist Jay Dickerson. Some in the room may know him as Jermaine Dickerson. He is a Mount Clemens native, though he currently lives in Ypsilanti, along with award-winning poet Jessica Care Moore. We are awaiting final artwork from the artists now. Once the final artwork is received, we will be planning and publicizing an unveiling of it, or ribbon cutting, to celebrate the new artwork with our community. You will, of course, all receive an invitation to join us. Funding for the project has been received from the National Endowment for the Arts, local supporters, with the remaining costs being borne by the Anton Arts Center. Very specifically, the goals and purpose of this project were to engage our community in discussion around their lived experiences when it comes to art in Mount Clemens and Macomb County, and the Anton Arts Center, and to allow us to learn from our community in order to better meet their needs. Additionally, we wanted to work to improve representation of Black people in both public artwork content and as public artists in Mount Clemens and Macomb County. The Anton Arts Center's mission is to enrich and inspire people of all ages through the arts. Our goals are to present a wide array of programming to appeal to diverse audiences, provide support for the arts, and become a focal point for arts programming while working towards inclusion, diversity, equity, and access in all we do. Commissioning and presenting this artwork helps us to meet our mission and goals, as well as help us work toward our vision of building an open community around creative expression. The 2020 census indicates that Macomb County has a 12.6% Black population, a 4% increase over the 2010 census. And the city of Mount Clemens has a population that is 27.8% Black, which is an increase of 3.1% over that 2010 census. Increasing diversity of residents and visitors to Mount Clemens and Macomb County requires that attention be paid to representing these diverse communities and ensuring opportunities to participate with the Anton Arts Center. Historically, non-white audiences have had lesser representation at the Anton Arts Center and in the arts more broadly. By creating an opportunity for this new public artwork and sharing our platform for the arts in Mount Clemens and Macomb County, we can help to build a new vision for the arts that is inclusive and representative of all those who are part of our community. We hope that you will all join us in celebrating this expansion of the city's public art collection and look forward to installing the work on the Anton Arts Center building later this summer. Happy to answer any questions the commission may have.
Commissioner
Yes,
Menzer.
Commissioner Menzer.
Is the artist who's actually going to draw this on the side of the building been chosen, and is it a Mount Clemens artist?
They have not been chosen yet. As commissioners are probably aware, or may be aware, there is an issue with the facade of the building that we need to have addressed before we paint it as any permanent mural. The initial application of this artwork will be as a printed banner that will be hung on the side of the building. And once we have some resolution for the facade itself, then we will proceed with finding an artist, hopefully a local artist, to be able to apply this to the building itself.
And do you have any advice for a local artist who might want to apply to be able to, paint this on the building?
Call me, 586-469-8666, pgilchrist@theartcenter.org. I'm always looking for new artists who are interested in public artwork or becoming involved with the Art Center at any level.
Definitely.
There's a resident on Riverside who I think is very interested.
I may know the resident of which you speak. I'd be happy to touch base with you later about it.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions for Mr. Gilchrist at this time?
I would only say that for most of you that are in the audience, you can't see it, right? I mean, if you go out in the packet, though,
Yes.
for the agenda packet, you can see a copy of the proposed mural or painting eventually.
Yes, I did bring copies with me today, which of course, heaven forbid I pass those out before I say a word. I'll circulate some of those for folks
Yes,
here
we
this
want to see
evening to share around. But yes, it is also included in the commission packet online this evening.
Is that the final, did you say that was the final draft, or
Is
not?
not. There is
Okay.
there is a final revision that we are currently awaiting on.
Oh,
So there
okay.
are likely to be some changes to some of the details that are incorporated in the version that you have before you tonight.
Okay.
Well, not.
Okay, it's not going to be a
gonna
half
print it,
skull
is
like
it?
the Anton, or the
Ask me.
Emerald.
No, the depiction is of a full skull.
Okay, good. Because that other one's quite controversial. At least
That it
people
is.
talk about it.
All right. Thank you again for your time this evening. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
Mayor Crop, I move that we adopt the agenda as presented.
Support.
Call the roll, please.
Campbell.
Yes.
Dempsey. Dempsey.
Yes?
I didn't hear you.
Sorry.
I think that was you.
Voice today. Fournier.
Yes.
Crop.
Yes.
Metzger.
Yes.
Voorhees.
Yes.
Okay. All right. This is the portion of the meeting where we invite the public to address the commission. We will first invite the actual public, and then we will go to who's on Zoom. We ask that you give us your full name, your residential address, and that you abide by our 3-minute rule. If anyone at this time would like to address the commission, please come to the microphone.
Eric Rick, 1689 Hampton, Mount Clemens, Michigan. I've got 3 points, 2 I'll be addressing now and 1 during the 2-minute session. With regard to the consolidations of Precinct 5 and 6, I can only imagine the work needed to manually go through and compare the turnout from 2016 and 2020 when the data stuff just doesn't do that. But I would just urge caution. 2020 was a very strange year. Turnout was higher than usual, and it was different in many other ways. Basing the decision to close Precinct 5 based solely on the difference between 2016 and 2020 may be a little short-sighted. If it's an issue of funding or manpower or something, ask us for volunteers, ask us for help. I'm sure we can get enough people to make it happen. My third issue that I'll address during the 2-minute session will also have an ask for you. But my second issue, I do believe an apology is in order for a commissioner calling the police on a resident after they made some public comments. But I also believe we need to start moving past that, and hopefully what comes next is more conversation, such as the community conversations, which the library is starting up again, starting tomorrow at 6 o'clock at the Carnes Center. Please, the more people that come, the better, and the more opinions and ideas and levels of experience that come, the better the results of it, and the more tighter knit our community will be. Thank you.
Diana Avenue, 26 Riverside Drive, Mount Clemens. I moved here in 2015 on purpose because I believed that the city was poised for a comeback. And as somebody who is involved in housing, I felt that it was my duty to become more involved in what was happening in our city, and I sought to enlighten myself. About a year ago, I met Thomas Barnes when the call for the parade happened, and started to become more and more involved with what was happening in our city. And I have to say, I was ashamed that I did not know some of the things that were happening in our own city or not happening in our own city when it comes to actual parts of our community. I have started to get to know him better and become more involved with the Cairns Center and some of the organizations that he supports and some of the programs that he supports. And I could not be prouder to have Thomas Barnes as a community member and to be able to support him as a resident of the city of Mount Clemens. And I also do think that an apology is in order, and that if we lose people that really passionately believe in putting a hand down to helping the next generation up, then we are going to fail as a community, and we cannot afford to fail. Thank you.
Ruthie Stevenson, 69 Bain Street. The first, I'd like to talk about the consolidations of the 5th and 6th precinct. I don't think that's a good idea, and we need to consider that. A lot of people didn't come out to vote because they had to come to City Hall. So I think we should leave it as it is and think about how we're going to implement that process. Secondly of all, I have to concur with
the two speakers previous to me. The Word of God says if we have an ought against our brother and sister, we go to have conversation and figure out what the ought is. We don't go to the city manager, we don't go to the police, but hopefully these two individuals, our commissioner and our citizens, can come together to have resolution, because this still impacting the community. I don't care whether the community is blue, black, white, or as I always say, grizzly gray. It's still impacting the community. And we need to have some meaningful conversations. They need to talk to one another and get this resolved so the community can move forward instead of looking at that incident. And also, in 2005, Jennifer Granholm signed into Senate Bill 384, the third Saturday in June, as Juneteenth National Day in the state of Michigan. She was one of the first governors in the state of in the country to do that, to turn that into that. And we met with her and to do that. And so we're looking forward to our Juneteenth celebration again in the city of Mount Clemens. We have been holding it for years, but it was a little laxed in the last couple of years, so we're happy to have it back.
Is there anyone else who would like to address the commission at this time?
Thomas Barnes, 291 Jones Street, Mount Clemens. I would also caution you on proceeding with consolidating precincts 5 and 6. I was a part of the original conversations when precinct 5 originally closed. The conditions that the building at Carnes were in when that precinct closed were not what it is currently now. There were people who worked for the elections board who complained about the heat not working in the building, about the building not being accessible, about the building being dirty. The heat currently is working, and so does the air. The building is in pristine condition because of myself and your city manager and your DPW supervisor. So I think that, again, if what was done in 2020 with all of the ballots going to people's houses were to make voting easier for people, I think that we should caution closing a voting precinct in a predominantly poor neighborhood where 40% of the people don't have equitable access to transportation before we make that final decision. And I think that decision should be made publicly and openly. Thank you.
Is there anyone else at this time who would like to address the commission? Okay, we have someone on Zoom.
Allison.
I'm sorry, Allison.
Arnold.
Allison Arnold, if you could unmute yourself.
I have.
Hi, Allison. Can you give us your full name? Well, your address.
My address is 3982 Bancroft Street in Ottawa Hills, Ohio, 43606. I addressed council previously. I'm from Policella PLLC, and we represent licensed cannabis businesses. And I talked to council before, and I want to congratulate council on doing a no-cap zoning control ordinance, which I certainly think is the best. Mount Clemens is engaged in a long deliberative process in adopting this ordinance, which became effective on May 30th of this year. The application procedure itself has been discussed for a lengthy period of time, and the application and the process have been available on your website. I would state to council that it's fundamentally unfair at this time for the people who planned on this process and procedure to rescind the ordinance. It's my understanding that there are only about 40 properties that are likely to be subject to application. So I would ask that the council not second guess your process. The clerk still has 9 additional days to get ready, and that should be enough time to process 40 or so applications. So I would ask the city not to delay this process any further, and council to vote not to rescind the ordinance that is in place and to let the process go through so the city can experience all the benefits from licensed marijuana businesses. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else on Zoom?
Teresa McGarry.
Okay. Teresa McGarity, can you give us your full address? Oh, and unmute yourself.
Good evening. My name is Teresa McGarity, and I reside at 19 Interest Street in Mount Clemens. I wanted to speak briefly, just a few things. One, the sidewalk repairs, not sure if they're completed on North Broadway. I know between Clara and Colchester Street, they're still really bad. They've been, especially in front of the church at 260 North Broadway in Mount Clemens, they are not, that hasn't been completed for a while. It's still just cement there, and it's not where people can walk around it. And that is a heavy area where people do walk. So I'm not sure who I need to speak with in regards to that. The other thing I wanted to mention was the car show that happened just the other day in Mount Clemens. I thought it was wonderful. Great people out laughing, talking, dancing. People were meeting new friends. Mount Clemens looked good. And so I wanted to kudos to Mount Clemens for that. And then I also wanted to speak in regards to commissioners. And Madam Mayor, I need to apologize to you, because I did mention that I was going to send you the Juneteenth flyer to you in your email. So I personally would like to apologize. I was wrong. I did not send that information yet. With that said, as my granddaughter is sitting here in the meeting as well, I still have a heavy heart as to what happened in regards to a commissioner, in regards to a city employee with the police being called. I am asking for an apology to that individual, and a public apology or a private apology, but just an apology, because we have to work together. If this choose not to happen, so be it. That's something you have to lay down with and get up the next day. But this city is moving forward. I see a lot of big changes thanks to you commissioners and Madam Mayor, but I think we can do better than we did the day before. An apology is needed to Thomas Barnes. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else on Zoom? Are we good? Okay. All right, we'll close public comment and we will move on to administrative responses. We have a report on the consolidation of precincts 5 and 6. Mr. Johnson, would you like to take over on that one?
Yes, thank you. This is the city clerk's report, but our city clerk is suffering from a form of laryngitis, and I offered to read it for her tonight. This started at the last meeting on the 22nd. The clerk recommended a section of the election precinct boundaries ordinance be amended to accurately reflect the correct number of precincts in the city, which is currently 6, but the ordinance reads 8. One of the commissioners, Commissioner Hammond, asked to be provided with information and election data regarding voter turnout at Precinct 5, Carnes Center, at elections following the permanent relocation and consolidation of this precinct into Precinct 6. And that occurred in 2020. We're not talking about combining them. They were combined 2 years ago. In fact, there's within the qualified voter file, there is nobody in Precinct 5 anymore. This happened in a couple of steps. Precinct 5 was temporarily consolidated with Precinct 6 for all elections in 2018. And after the 2018 elections, the city clerk, Lisa Bogars at the time, noted that turnout for 5 voters had increased during the temporary relocation. And based on these findings, she recommended to the commission that Precinct 5 be permanently relocated and consolidated into Precinct 6 in a cost savings measure. It doesn't say it, but it's more than just cost savings. It's actually very difficult to recruit election workers. So it saves on the number of election workers we need, and it's not just a matter of being able to pay them, it's a matter of being able to find them as well. She also made it clear at the time that any Mount Clemens voter may obtain free transportation to vote, at their precinct on Election Day through dial-a-ride, and the City Commission agreed and unanimously approved her recommendations. Kathy put together a number of documents that are attached, which basically has all of the history relating to this, showing the agenda covers and the detail and the minutes for the January 6th, January 21st, and February 3rd, 2020 meetings, which all involve permanently relocating the precinct and then consolidating Precinct 5 and Precinct 6 and updating the Mount Clemens election precincts boundaries ordinance. She also included the legal descriptions of all the precincts and the updated precinct map that were supplied to the city commissioners at the time. In addition, she gave you the legal notice and a copy of what was published in the paper, and along with the official receipt for the mailing of the new voter ID cards and the notice that was sent with the ID cards. And she noted that stickers were affixed, actually neon stickers were affixed to the envelopes containing the voter ID cards and precinct change, and that read, "Your voting precinct has been permanently relocated." As for trying to come up with actual data on how that has impacted the elections, this proved to be more difficult than we expected because the voter file is a state file. It's called the qualified voter file. It's not a local document. And when it changes, there's no way to go back to what it looked like at a particular point in time. And since the time of these elections, people have moved, people have died. So anybody who is left is no longer in the file. New people may be there as well, but they're not really a factor because they won't show up as having voted in that election. So what we were able to do was to download the listings of all voters from Precinct 6 who voted in the 2020 and 2016 elections and manually identify addresses that were previously in Precinct 5. The way we did that is we downloaded it, put it into a spreadsheet, sorted it by street and direction and address, and then went through a list that Kathy provided me of the Precinct 5 streets, addresses, and marked those as 5. And then we just used an @count function to count how many people were showing voted. But of course, again, anybody who might have been there at the time that isn't there now would not get counted. The results we've got from that between 16 and 20, and they are different elections, obviously. One was the state election, the governor election, and no, actually, these were both presidential elections. I'm sorry,
That's
these
why
were both presidential.
They were like elections. That's why we selected 16 and 20. They're both presidential elections.
In the primary in 16, we had 161 voters from 5. In the primary in 2020, we had 280. For the general election in November, we had 591 voters from Precinct 5 in 2016 and 791 in 2020. So they increased in all cases. You could argue that it was a more controversial election, but I'm not sure that that's really true. I don't know how much the overall
Well, the
difference
whole
was.
reason that Clerk Borges did this was in 2018. She compared the election results. She did some temporary reconsolidations for all the elections in 2018, long before 2020. She noticed that there was an increase in voters when we did that temporary reconsolidation, and that's the whole reason we did the permanent. Also, I just wanted to say the whole reason this happened was because I was researching, we recently, the state of Michigan redistricted. I was just looking at our ordinance and I noticed that it said Mount Clemens has 8 precincts, when that's not true. We only have 6 right now. The ordinance was never updated. There used to be 10 precincts in Mount Clemens. We currently have 6. I wanted the ordinance to be correct and reflect the correct number of precincts we have here currently, which is 6. There's no new consolidation of the precincts. We consolidated Precinct 5 with Precinct 6 back in 2020. We haven't had any problems. Voter turnout has not decreased, it increased. I haven't had any complaints. It's worked out very well. So I just wanted to make that clear. There's nothing that's changed. It's just I accidentally noticed, well, I didn't accidentally notice. I noticed that the precincts were incorrect, and I wanted to correct it, and I needed city commission approval to do that. So it was just a matter of changing the number in the ordinance. I can't do that myself. I need permission from the commission to change anything.
And that's all that's on the agenda
And
tonight.
that's what,
It's to change an 8 to a 6.
That's all it was to be, and it's been consolidated, like I said, since 2020.
Okay, so does anybody have any questions or comments on this one? Because
I think it was pretty simple. It was a clerical error that was overlooked, that was just being corrected. There was no consolidation. That happened already in 2020. So it was...
I have one question. I don't necessarily have a problem with the consolidation of the precincts, and I don't think anybody really has a problem with that part. But the location of the actual poll is what everyone keeps questioning. So why can't we move the precinct instead of, if it was once at Carnes and now is at City Hall, why can't it be once at City Hall and at Carnes?
Large expense.
I'm sorry, Commissioner, the city clerk can answer.
Are you asking why can't we move this precinct 6?
Right.
To
the new
to
6 or the 6, right, exactly. I mean,
Well-
if we're representing that neighborhood, 6 represents both neighborhoods, correct? I mean, so we could move this operation to Carnes, couldn't we?
I don't know.
That's something that I think we should consider. I don't expect you to have the answer tonight, because, we'll have to look into it, but I think that's something that maybe we should consider, because if we do know that there's a transportation issue and we have to have poll workers here, they're not the people that work in the election room necessarily. I mean, they're separate poll workers, so they could be there. It's just something that when I look at the issue, I don't think the issue is what is putting together nobody cares if those streets are in the same precinct as these streets. What they're worried about is access to the poll. So why can't we move the poll? I think we just need to consider it. It's nothing we need to take action today, because you can't do it for August anyway. You can't do it for November, because those cards and everything have already gone out. But it's something we need to consider, I think. We'll look into it.
I think that might be a good alternative.
So, does anybody else have any questions, thoughts, comments?
I guess we had no ill will when we did it. It was just a consolidation move to save some money, and because we thought there would be low voter turnout. If the neighborhood there feels passionately about having it there, of course, we don't know how the former precinct 6, am I getting them right?
Mm-hmm.
Will feel if we move it to Carnes, so we're gonna have
I feel like there would be the same kind of pushback.
It's
the same issue.
Yeah.
But if
Have a larger issue.
I personally, and maybe we need to talk to more, 4 people does not make a whole neighborhood, but maybe we need to consider going back to 2. We are here to facilitate voting for the people of Mount Clemens. That's our job. And if they feel, I think if we move it to Carnes, we're gonna get backlash on the other side. So, Can you just tell us again, and you can do this at the next one, how much roughly it would cost? And if it's a matter of volunteers, I will find some. I will volunteer.
Just the mailing, right?
Well, I would have to buy a new tabulator. That's going to be about 15,000. Because I have that one for the influx of absentee voters. I use that one for AV. I need 3. So that's 15,000. Laptop, 1,700. There's a bunch of costs involved. Memory devices, $210. Maintenance, $220 plus $175. And there'll be the extra workers, mail out new cards for $300. So I have about like 19,000 to start off.
One times and then going.
But then there's the extra cost of the workers and the, the maintenance on the machine and.
I think it's something that we're not gonna have the answer tonight, and it's not really on the general business, so, but I think it's something that it can be further discussion.
I would like to hear from the residents, because really it's the residents of former Precinct 5 and Precinct 6, and if they believe that that is worth the cost and it's that important to them, because I think we have to facilitate voting. But I also think I have no problem moving it to Carnes either. I just think we're going to get backlash.
We get backlash.
Whichever way.
Pretty much everything else, so. At least then they're engaged. Paying attention.
I kind of would like to point out that this ordinance, this change on January 6th of 2020 was motioned by Commissioner Hammond, supported by Commissioner Campbell. The motion for January 21 was motioned by Campbell, supported by Commissioner Hammond. And the motion on February 3rd, 2020 was again motioned by Commissioner Campbell and supported by Commissioner Hammond. All 3 of these votes were unanimous. So, we all from different parts of the city, and there was a unanimous decision made. And again, we did this temporarily in 18. So we have done this now for, 4 years. So this isn't, as was said earlier, this isn't a new thing. This is simply a language change in the ordinance that was written back in 2020.
And again, I don't think it's the issue of the consolidation. I think it's the issue of a polling location, which can still be moved without changing an ordinance even, or, making anything. So again, I think if we can maybe have some conversations with community members, I know I'll bring it up at coffee talks, maybe tomorrow if we bring it up at the community conversations. I mean, if we start talking about that, I think it is our job as representatives to talk to people and get the feeling of the community. So, I think we should do that. All right, is there any other questions or comments on this issue? All right, moving along. Approval of the minutes. I'll entertain a motion.
Rashida's not here.
Yeah.
Commissioner Hammond's not here.
Someone, anyone? Bueller?
Motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Thank you.
Support.
Call the roll, please. Well, anybody have any questions or comments? Okay, call the roll, please.
Dempsey,
Yes.
Fournier,
Yes.
Krupp,
Yes.
Menser,
Yes.
Voorhees.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
All right, we'll move on to 9A, DIA Anton mural agreement for the fire station. Mr. Johnson? Oh, sorry, I'll entertain a motion first.
I move to approve the memorandum of understanding with the Detroit Institute of Arts and the Anton Arts Center for the mural to be painted on the fire station, and to authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign it on behalf of the city.
I'll second that.
Okay, Mr. Johnson.
You'll recall quite some time ago, we applied for this as a grant through the DIA, and we were awarded it to actually get it done now, we need a memorandum of understanding with the DIA and the Anton Arts Center. We've gone through several revisions of this, and the city attorney has reviewed and approved the most recent version. So we're requesting that the city commission approve the document so we can get it executed and proceed.
Does anybody have any questions or comments? Commissioner Menzer.
Have we chosen a local artist yet?
Artists have not yet been selected so far as I know, but the DIA is selecting the artists on behalf of the partnership.
And if a local artist wanted to apply for that?
586.
Okay, because I think we do have maybe one or two local artists from this city that would like to be able to paint that mural.
Is anybody, sorry. Anybody have any questions? Comments? All right. Call the roll, please.
Fournier,
Yes.
Crop,
Yes.
Menzer,
Yes.
Voorhees.
Yes.
Campbell. Yes. Dempsey.
Yes.
All right, 9B, the rental inspector contract. I'll entertain a motion. I'll entertain a motion.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry.
I don't have it up on my computer. Go
Okay.
ahead.
I move to approve the agreement with Michael L. Farron to provide rental inspection services for the 2023 fiscal year and to authorize the mayor and the city clerk to execute the same.
I'll second it.
Okay. Mr. Johnson, go ahead.
I will summarize Mr. Tingley's letter. We have the agreement is attached, provides for him to provide rental inspection services at a fee of $48,000 per year paid biweekly. The same rate the city's been paying since 2015-16. He's an independent contractor, so as such he does not have set hours of service. However, he generally provides inspection and consultation hours 5 days per week. After 2 years of dealing with COVID-related issues within the rental market, Mr. Farron has recently completed identification of all expired rental certificates and is processing those for inspection. He's also begun cross-referencing all properties where the owner address does not match the address of the property in order to identify additional unregistered rentals. We anticipate a potential increase in rental properties due to the current housing market. With available housing stock so limited and those houses that do come on the market often being sold within hours, more people are turning to the rental market as opposed to buying. We'll monitor this over the course of the contract, and I may explore bringing back a full-time city employee into this position. With annual rental registration inspection revenue of approximately $200,000 in recent years, the cost could be absorbed. This contract would become effective July 1st, 2022 and expire on June 30th, 2023. It does contain a 30-day termination clause for either party.
All right. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Commissioner Menzer.
So one of the complaints that we hear regularly, and we hear them from Commissioner Campbell also, is the blight that takes place at a lot of these rentals. The cars, the trash, the furniture on the porches, et cetera, et cetera. I went back and I took a look at statistics, and in the first quarter of 2022, Mr. Farron inspected 275 rental homes. In 2021, he inspected 168, so that's a nice increase. For all of 2021, I added up each quarter, he did 864 inspections. And that's quite a lot. That's a lot of rental inspections in our small city. And so that tells me there's a lot of rentals. And because the blight issue hasn't gone away, I am concerned that we need more aggressive enforcement of blight regulations or ordinances specifically at rentals, and what part Mr. Farren can play in that when he inspects these.
Every year when this, or whenever this contract comes up, I bring this up, and I agree that Mr. Farren needs to be more aggressive and more ambitious when it comes to this rental program. I continue to see rentals that are not maintained. Not only the outside, but the insides are disgusting. And I can only imagine what some of the other ones look like. I think that we need to do more work in this area, and we need someone who's going to be more ambitious about the whole program. We have the ordinances on the books, we need to enforce them.
I'm going to address Mr. Tingley, if that's okay. Mr. Tingley, what is probably the biggest hurdle for Mr. Farren in terms of compliance or, with rental
It really is an
landlords?
issue of manpower. We took a look back before Mr. Farren was laid off from his city position in 2011 and then brought back on as city contractor. Even going back to the early 2000s, the city had, at one point, about almost two full-time equivalent people strictly for the rental, inspection program. And now he's an independent contractor. He really is. It is not a full-time position technically, and I really do think it's an issue of manpower. And that's what I do suggest that we may explore bringing that position back as a city employee, and then we do control the hours. We're able to manage that much better.
Okay.
And I certainly do think that if this is a priority, then that certainly look at going that route.
Thank you. Commissioner Menzer?
So this is effective July 1. So there's really hardly any way that we can make a change between today, June 6th, and July 1 by hiring a full-time inspector, is there? Unless we use Safe Built or something for temporarily. But can we modify this contract for 6 months, which gives us time to post and hire a full-time employee?
I think
30-day
30-day
termination clause in it.
So we would give him notice at that point,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Right?
I mean, if the city commission wanted to proceed with the full-time position before, the next budget, then, we could certainly do that. The money's not currently in the budget for that position.
Money?
Okay.
Well,
And some of the other things we discussed in terms of enforcement, Administrative Hearings Bureau, utilizing civil infractions, some of those things would apply to the rental registration program as well.
So can I make a friendly amendment to the motion to say that we approve the rental inspection agreement with Michael L. Farren until such time we can post and hire a full-time city employee?
It's not in the budget for the upcoming year, so no, I don't think you can.
I'm sure we could find that.
But you have the ability to do that without that addition to the motion. I mean, if the commission wants to.
Well, I wanted it out in the public and spelled out clearly.
And I think doing another one-year contract, if you recall, the contract we have with Safe Built was a 2-year contract. So we're going to be starting the second year of that contract as well. So it kind of aligns with that contract also coming up for review. So I think it's a good opportunity a year from now to kind of review everything at that time.
And
That makes
we do,
sense.
So I don't
and we
know
did
that-
put in the budget the Administrative Hearings Board, so that will be a major change to the Blight program. So it seems like if we should, it's like if you're doing an experiment, you have one control at a time, right? So that you're not, so you can see what works, right?
Yeah, I
And
mean,
if
if we
you're
make
changing
ch-
everything at
yeah.
once, we don't, it's like throwing enough
Yeah,
crap
if we
at the
made
wall,
changes,
something's sticking.
if we made changes in that regard, maybe it doesn't warrant necessarily bringing it back as a full-time position.
But the issue has been on the books, in the city for a long time. and nothing, we talk about it at this point, give the guy his contract, and then we'll be talking about it another
Yeah,
year.
then we'll do nothing again.
And in the interim, then I think we need to look at what type of, he is a contractor, and look at the type of job and what, is he getting the job done? And what's going on. I don't manage them, so it's difficult to be specific, but I do see rentals where, I know one where the windows have been broken for 2 years. I even called into City Hall about it. Nobody even knows who the landlord is. That's one, I could sit here for the next half hour and tell you one after another, and different things that don't get addressed, don't get looked at, and my issue isn't necessarily that he needs to step up the game. That's what I feel, and so whether or not we end up hiring a full-time person or not, that we have to manage the situation that's going on out there. That's what we need to do, and just doing the same old thing doesn't seem to work.
But I think that was, the point is that we're not doing, I mean, we are having the same rental inspector, but we are trying to change the blight program. Right? I mean,
The blight program.
The blight program, which is what which is things like broken windows and cars.
These are rentals, so when you go and inspect
I
that
understand
rental,
that.
you should be able to see a
the
broken window.
Totally agree. Yes.
So in this letter, it says, with the available housing stock so limited, those houses that do come on the market are being sold within hours, and most are being turned into rental properties. We already have a situation in the city where rental properties, people that do not own a property have no long-term invested interest in the community. So with more rental properties coming on the market here, the problem's only going to be compounded. It's not going to be getting any better. So we keep doing the same thing. I mean, we need a full-time rental inspector here.
I think that's what Brian was
trying to say.
I know, but
advocating
we talked
for.
about that last year, and here we are talking about it again this year.
Well, it should
And
have
now
been-
more rental properties are coming on the market, and the problem just keeps moving on.
Well, we should have brought it up during budget meetings.
But at the same time, we have brought the issue up, and sometimes our issues should be noted so that when you're putting the budget together, you address those issues. And
But we could have brought it up too.
maybe, but this is, at this point, I think getting all those details straight in there, I'm having a hard time with this one. We've got to start addressing this issue.
Well, I don't think there's much, I mean, right now, we're just looking to approve his contract. But I think during that time, Brian is saying he can work on the safeguard, which I'm not aware of how that operates, and that's coming up. I wasn't here when that came about. And then he wants to take a look at the whole picture. You may end up deciding to bring all employees back, like we did in the past,
Maybe
which
we
was better.
will.
But
Right
this
now
is
we're
going to
talking
give
about
him a
the
time,
rentals.
but in the meantime, we still need to have somebody on board. What are you going to do if you don't approve this?
Maybe it's a different rental inspector. Maybe
Well,
we
you
need someone that's going to be at least a little ambitious, or maybe we need to say,
Well, so it's
Mr.
more about the
Farren-
person than it is,
No, it's
Well, you
about
just
getting the
said-
job done, but how it gets done, I don't manage this person, you do. And if I can't say, Mr. Fair, all I know is the job is not getting done. And I said this last time that his contract came up, and the time before that, and as a citizen before I was a commissioner. I have been saying it for years. It hasn't changed. And I think that at some point, we have to do something, and I'm disappointed that we haven't been presented with something to do something about this. I get so frustrated because when you do call up here and you say that there's an issue, nothing happens. That broken window is a perfect example. I walk by it every day, and there it is. And I even offered to fix it. But they don't know where the landlord is for me to go fix it.
What is the address of that property? Do you know off the top of your
It's
head?
on Church Street. I've given it.
We routinely have our contractor board windows, so we can certainly make that happen.
I'll fix it. The point being, we can't even find the landlord to fix it because the tenant can't give you the authorization to fix it. And I did call you about it. So
The tenants would want it fixed.
the tenant should certainly want it fixed because it is a big hole.
So you know, what I'm hearing here is that we are interested in your idea of a full-time staff person where we can manage their hours instead of a contractor. But in the meantime, until that can be enacted, we're sitting here with Mr. Farron's contract. And we can't go without any inspector at all. And as I read you the numbers, he did inspect 864 rentals last year, and he did inspect January, February, March of this year, 275. So I'm going to vote yes on this contract and give Brian the opportunity to, first of all, find the money, second of all, you know, put together a job description and, you know, some other parameters of a full-time employee inspector.
So what we need to do is clarify this motion. Right now, the motion is on the floor to, who presented the motion?
I did.
Voorhees.
You did, okay.
I
And,
just read it off of here.
yeah, that's fine. That's fine. It's cool, that's fine. So, yes, Commissioner Voorhees presented the motion of approving the rental inspector contract that is provided in our agenda packet. Commissioner Menzer offered a
Friendly amendment?
friendly amendment. Is that something that we want to consider, or is that something that we want to, you want to hold your motion? I don't know how friendly it is at this point.
Can I make a suggestion before we go on?
Sure, why not? Well, let's have a second suggestion.
Then you can think.
Okay, sure.
Okay, so.
Let's do it.
Can we, first of all, I don't want to promise this man this, I would like to see the city go back and look at the situation and what they can do and come back with a plan. And I know that, so if that's the plan, if that's what you want, you know, to come back and tell us what you're going to do, but not necessarily give them a contract for the whole year. I know there's a 30-day out, but this says for the 2023 fiscal year. And so if we, so we look at this issue and say, hey, here's what we're going to do. I would like a plan. And maybe Mr. Farron is on a month-to-month.
Well, I mean, we have another commission meeting. We could table this. We do have another commission meeting before his current contract expires.
I would feel comfortable with that. I think we should table it.
So we should, and then
So then let's,
go up right ahead.
all right, I move that we table the rental.
Wait, we have to vote on the first motions that were made.
That's right.
And then you can make a second motion.
Does everybody understand where we're at this point?
No.
At the table, at
No,
least.
right now.
We're going to table it.
Okay, let me explain.
Vote on it if you're
No,
gonna
you can,
table it.
you can.
You don't
table
have
it.
to?
You don't have to
Just
vote.
amend
Okay.
this motion to
Yeah.
table.
Thank you.
You just
Okay.
table it and then you go on.
So go ahead.
Go ahead, right ahead.
I move that we table the rental inspector contract of Michael L. Farron.
Support.
Okay. Okay, roll call, please.
Crap,
Yes.
Menzer,
Yes.
Voorhees.
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Dempsey,
No.
Fournier.
Yes.
All right, motion, issue of 9B will be tabled and presented at the next commission meeting. 9C, purchase and payments of invoices.
Move to approve purchases and payment of invoices as presented.
Support.
Okay, do we have any questions or comments? Commissioner Menzer?
I am not happy with the no bid or no request for proposals for our computer maintenance. We've had this high-tech contract for a very long time. They are not located in this, in this city. I really think that
it is time when you look at their costs of, the added costs of, remote work and on-site support, travel, $150 an hour plus travel, for after-hours remote support, $56.25 for a quarter hour. I think this should have been bid out. And
Mr.
given,
Johnson, do you wanna-
in a local, there are local computer companies in this area. There are some in this city that would be thrilled to bid on this contract. So my vote on this will be no.
Mr. Johnson, do you want to?
I've got Ms. Giolotti here, who's prepared to speak to this.
Yes, hello.
Hi.
I personally work with High Tech on a regular basis, week in, week out. Myself and Teresa Bryant, who is now enlisted to help me with the IT coordination, because as with all of our departments, we are thinly staffed and have multiple roles. I personally have no issue with High Tech. I do realize they're not perfect, but nobody is. Most of the IT issues that we have generally come from one department, and generally it's user error. I think they do a fine job. We had a tremendous amount of projects this year that they completed very well and worked with us very well. I'm very comfortable with them. They're very knowledgeable of all of our sites and all of the equipment on our sites. So I personally am quite happy with my experience with them. So.
What is the total spending on, in that account that you listed, 101-22800? The contract is $54,000. The monthly cost is $4,514. But this does not indicate to me what the total annual spending has been once you add in all of their excess charges. Did we know that number?
I do not. But what I can tell you is that I do purchase additional hours of IT service at a discounted rate in the, via a time block, which has been before you, before, presented and approved. So whenever I run out of hours, which we get 6 hours a week, that's what happens. They would go into that time block, which is at a highly discounted rate compared to what's actually showed in the contract.
But that highly discounted rate is added to the cost of the contract.
Yes, but I know when I first started taking over IT, I don't believe I purchased a time block for the first year to 2 years. I think I've purchased 2 time blocks since then, and that was because we had some very extensive projects. They overhauled, installed new servers at multiple locations. The change of our website from cityofmountclemens.com to mountclemens.gov was a huge project that took a considerable amount of time. So the time block was purchased for that, as well as the migration from our on-site mail server to the Microsoft 365. That was another big project.
And our phones too, didn't they help with the phone situation?
Well, they did, because AT&T dropped the ball
Right,
on our
yeah.
phone
Yeah.
process, so yes.
They saved the day on that one.
Yes, absolutely.
Does anybody have any further questions or comments for Ms. Giolotti or Mr. Johnson? Okay, seeing none, call the roll, please. Thank you.
Crop,
Yes.
Menser,
No.
Voorhees.
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Dempsey,
Yes.
Fournier.
Yes.
All right, agenda item 9D, rescind marijuana business ordinances. I will entertain a motion.
I move to rescind the May 16th, 2022 motion and vote to approve the second reading and adoption of the City of Mount Clemens marijuana business ordinance at a later date. There's nothing there, but.
Do we have support?
Support.
Mr. Johnson?
Yeah, you probably all noticed as you came in today, we've got our first group of people camped out in the parking lot. Actually, I found them on the handicap ramp until I asked them to move this evening. We did expect that type of thing to occur, but we did not expect it this soon. This would not necessarily be a problem as long as there are no fights and as long as they do not interfere with public access to City Hall. However, we've learned that the firm that's employing these people is planning to submit multiple applications on behalf of multiple firms in multiple locations. And they're expecting to do that from a single place in line. We think that could be a very, very large problem. I see anybody who thinks they're second in line being very upset to discover that the people in front of them may have submitted 10 applications for different locations and thus froze them out. I can foresee that resulting in litigation with firms not selected because we allowed that to occur. Frankly, it's something that we just did not anticipate. And to some degree, I have to give them credit for being more clever than we were. Also explored whether we could impose any rules that are not already in the ordinance and then have been told, no, we cannot. So we're recommending the commission consider calling a timeout to allow this section of the ordinance to be revised and the application date to be changed. To do that, we would suggest that you rescind the action from the May 16th meeting, which approves second reading and adoption of the ordinance. I did not put in here a specific date to have it back, but I imagine it would probably be the next commission meeting. Says I did not put a specific date in here to have it back again, but I presume it would probably be the next one.
I doubt that.
Okay.
Okay. How
to have
soon?
goals.
I guess that's my first question
Well,
then.
there's two alternatives that are being looked at, and one is to explore third-party contractors who, computer company, who I found out 3 communities utilize to accept the applications and to set them up in order. So we wanted to do that. The second would be to draft language, if we are going to do it here, that would have some more restrictions relative to how applications are submitted. I would point out that not only did the clerk learn of the strategy that Mr. Johnson just indicated, I learned today from an attorney for a couple of different parties that their intention was to get in line, file multiple applications for multiple locations. So we thought in light of both of those that we should probably rescind this and make some modifications. I would rather do it now than do it after we started collecting applications and have it blow up in our face.
The guy that's camping out might be disappointed, but.
$2 an hour, yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Is somebody gonna go out there and tell them?
No, I think to be fair, we have to do this. I don't know, I mean, this has gotten out of hand, I think. And again, hey, we're very clever, but.
I mean, every step of the way we've been trying to do, what we think is best, and I don't think we should stop now, So
Right.
I think we want to, take a step back and try to fix this, like you said before it.
Hopefully we can
Cost the
have
city
the way at least
significant money.
forward by the next meeting. And, I mean,
I'm
Some
pretty
idea.
sure it'll be within the next 2 meetings
Okay.
at the most. It is not going to be any year-long delay.
Yeah, okay. well, I'm glad the expectation is kind of set, and we'll look for that. All right, does anybody else have any questions or comments? All right, hearing none, we will call the roll.
Menser,
Yes.
Voorhees,
Reluctantly, yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Dempsey,
Reluctantly, yes.
Fournier. Yes. Crop.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. All right, we'll move on to consent.
Move to approve consent agenda as presented.
Support.
You can't, it's consent. That's the whole point of consent. Call the roll, please.
Voorhees,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Dempsey,
Yes.
Fournier,
Yes.
Crop,
Yes.
Menser.
No.
All right, city manager's report.
Thank you. In development news, the Macomb County Economic Development Department's been very active recently in promoting Mount Clemens properties and providing a lot of demographic data and economic data to potential investors. Jack Johns reported on this to the DDA last Wednesday and stated he's very optimistic that we will soon see one or more of our large vacant buildings sell. Brian Tinkley, Mickey Weiss, and I met last week with a couple planning to establish a scooter and e-bike rental business in Mount Clemens. Their plan calls for docking stations, so we shouldn't end up with scooters being left just everywhere, as you're seeing in a number of communities. The only ordinance we can find that currently regulates scooters in Mount Clemens is the Macomb Place Mall Ordinance, which is 14.200. And there is a section in that prohibits scooters, roller skates, rollerblades, and skateboards from the mall area entirely. We may want to reconsider this ordinance, and we may want to put something else in place regarding scooter and e-bike rentals, as public right-of-way is almost always going to be used. Construction, didn't get specific with this, but we do have the concrete and the asphalt patching work is continuing. Jones Street's essentially complete. Last I looked, there was still a concrete collar around a manhole cover that hadn't been done yet. That might have been done by now. North River Road paving was delayed. It's now scheduled for June 8th. That's to do 2 lanes, which would then open those 2 lanes, and then the other lanes will get worked on. Spring sidewalk program is nearly complete. We should be bringing you back a report on that within the next month. Upcoming events. The Cruise and Car Show occurred over the weekend on Friday and Saturday on North Main Street. We've got June 11th, the Dinosaur Experience, including the drive-in movie, which is The Lost World Jurassic Park, which was their second movie of that franchise. And that will be occurring in the Roscoff parking lot near the Anton Art Center and across the street from Pop Sweets and Treats. There will be another attempt made to set the Guinness World Record for most people in inflatable dinosaur costumes. We came really close last year. What was our number, Mickey?
183.
And we needed?
12. Oh, yeah.
So, I understand we'll have 2 large inflatable dinosaurs appearing, and I've heard that we might have some other dinosaurs showing up too. Costume rules can be found on the Pops Facebook page. Didn't pre-print this one, but of course the Independence Day celebration is coming up. That's June 24th. There's a concert involved this year too on the Riverfront Sight and Sound concert featuring the Funtastics, which used to be known as the Beach Cats. That'll be at 7:30, and the fireworks will be after dark. On June 25th, we've rescheduled Ghostbusters 2 at dusk in the Roscoff parking lot near the Anton Art Center. Same location as the Dinosaur Experience. Mickey tells me we've got 6 local Ghostbusters clubs that are expected to participate. So we expect to see the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man again. probably a Ghostbusters car or two, and a lot of uniformed Ghostbusters. And we've already had one of the Cultural Harmonies concerts using the percussive instruments in the Cherry Street Mall. And we have another one scheduled for June 26th and July 16th from 2 to 4 p.m. The first one, we had about 125 people attend. Is that right, Phil? COVID cases, it's up and down and up and down, and it's starting going down again. They've decreased about 33% from the average of 2 weeks ago. Deaths have decreased by 36%. You can still go to Macomb County Vaccine Central to schedule a vaccination. Anybody age 5 or older is eligible. Future meetings, I don't have a whole lot listed out here, but we do have the firefighter awards coming up. We've got water and sewer rates coming up, and hopefully we'll have a Carnes agreement coming up. Well, frankly, I got a disappointing piece of news from Brandon the end of last week, so
Back to the drawing board.
maybe.
We'll see, huh?
Does anybody have any questions or comments for City Manager Johnson? Yes, Commissioner Mentor.
I was here Sunday down along the waterfront, and the geese are back in full force. So I was wondering if you were planning on another application of that wonderful chemical.
Yeah, they were supposed to do it on Saturday, but I don't think they did,
No, I don't think they did either.
based on what I'm seeing. It seemed to come back after the big storms last week. The next day, we suddenly had geese again.
Yeah, well, and the docks are a unbelievably disgusting mess.
So DPS is planning on doing those soon.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions or comments? This is the portion of the meeting that is a second opportunity for members of the commission to address, members of the audience to address the commission. All that we ask is that you give us your full name, your residential address, and that you abide by our 2-minute rule.
Thank you, Eric Rick, 1689 Hampton, Mount Clemens. First, I'd like to thank the commissioner who made it to the Memorial Day ceremony outside the fire station. I appreciate it. Also, a shout out to the kids from TCB Mentoring who for the 6th year in a row have replaced the flags at Clinton Grove Cemetery. That being said, despite around 50 people showing up to Clinton Grove, as far as I could tell, it was exclusively, without exception, veterans and their immediate family. I understand the importance of work-life balance, but next year I ask for your help. This is the ask I was going for. Please try to help get more people to take a little of their free time to come out to our local Memorial Day ceremony to acknowledge those who gave up all of their remaining free time in the service to this country. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Spencer Calhoun, 235 Cass Avenue. And I came here, I've been involved for last year. I did some voter registration work, and I was able to work for one of the elections. And so I just want to say that I would be really interested in seeing a serious community conversation about what we want to happen with where we go to vote, where the citizens do play a part in letting the commission know what we'd like to happen with that. And then I also agree that we do need more people to staff our elections. And so if you do have some spare time on election day, or it is paid too, so you know, if you can take the day off, you'll still get paid for working. But working on the election day is absolutely vital for all of us. And the last thing, just like Mr. Rick said, it is important that we have the community show up to local events, and we've got a lot of them for the summer too. So online, I know on Facebook, there's it's very easy on the events to see what's going on around town. Yeah, if you've got time to show up to an event, especially one that has to do with our veterans or our young people or a group that you're interested in, that would be an awesome way to support the community. So thank you.
Thomas Barnes, 291 Jones Street. First, I would like to say one of the things that got left off was the Juneteenth celebration that will be happening at Carnes Community Center on June the 18th. That will be sponsored by the National Council of Negro Women. That is an event coming up in the city of Mount Clemens, and since we have the proclamation for Juneteenth today, recognizing Juneteenth, it would be great to see everybody come out for that event. Secondly, I once heard that change comes through example, not through opinion. And I would like to give this lady her flowers. For the last 2 weeks, every day that I've walked in the doors to Carnes Community Center, I have been greeted by a little lady sitting weeds high up to her shoulder in the front garden at the community center. This lady's name is Cherie. Miss Cherie is what she told me to call her. This little lady and her little pitchfork and all of her blaringly loud show tunes have been sitting outside in the heat and in the rain and with the bugs and with the stray children that kind of walk in and out past her every day. She has picked every single weed out of the front garden of the community center and added some pretty beautiful flowers of her own. This lady represents the Mount Clemens Beautification Committee. That's the Mount Clemens that I stand behind. People putting down their opinions and picking up their work boots. Thank you, guys.
Anyone else in public?
Dolores Kseniak, 250 Euclid. This may not be the appropriate time, but you're talking about blaming the litter and everything on rentals. You should also blame the people who also buy their houses, what they look like after they move in. I lived in Florida a few years ago, and the bank would sell them the house. It was in pretty bad shape. He said, we give 2 years to fix up the house. The broken windows, paint it. This is the condition you're buying, we're giving you 2 years to fix it up. If you can't fix it up, you're going to have to move. We should implicate that in some way in our community. We have people who moved in a house in our neighborhood. They actually hung a sheet on their front porch to hide all their junk furniture. And your inspection man asked me, he said, how many people live in that house? I said, you asking me? You should know. I counted at least 7 adults and 3 or 4 children, I don't even know. It's a 2-bedroom house. That house was in perfect condition when they moved in. I knew the people that lived there. It was immaculate. Now it's a disaster. They've had this notice from the inspection about 2 weeks ago, and they still haven't done nothing because they don't care. Because they follow the people that live on the street. I have neighbors that keep their recycle bins on their front porch. Every day they go out and throw their junk in the recycle bench. And I have to sit there and look at this. The garbage cans are on the side of the porch. Put the garbage cans in the backyard where they belong. You're making the front of the house look unbearable. And I know Mr. Campbell sees this all the time too. Also, you get people that do their artwork. I do my artwork too, but I do my artwork in a house. I don't put lumber together, boards together and nail them on the front porch, on the front lawn. It's all clutter. So don't only blame your rentals, blame the people that are buying your houses, because they just don't give a damn. They don't care. When I first seen a sheet out there, I thought, gee, were they washing clothes and hanging on the front porch? So, thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Diana Avenue, 26 Riverside Drive. I also wanted to thank our DPW workers and city workers for the events this weekend. One of the things that we noticed every time we have an event in Mount Clemens is the next day it's like it never happened. Everything is clean and spotless and put back into place. We never have any issues, and I feel safe walking the streets and enjoying our things. So thank you very much for doing that. And I also wanted to thank Tommy for inviting me to be a vendor at Juneteenth. I will be at the Cairn Center representing the Mortgage One, and I also have some realtors going so that we can help spread the word in our city about home ownership to the people that come to the Cairn Center that day. So I encourage everybody to come and see what is happening at the Cairn Center on Juneteenth between 2 and 7 p.m., and I think you may be pleasantly surprised. Thank you.
Anyone else? No.
Marijuana again.
Thanks for the warning.
Ryan, 62 Rosebud. Just a few things. Obviously, we're trying to find out what's going to, help speed this process up and the best election process. Just over the years, the best election process that I've seen is when everybody participates. They have 10, 15 minutes to give their example or pitch their project. These are the towns that haven't been sued. Loom, who you know is a very big company, they just lost the suit about 3 weeks ago, and the judge basically declared that it's up to the city. If the city picks this guy over this guy, it's what the city wants. And that's a little bit of, just happened like 3 weeks ago. It's just, precedents that might help you guys and might not, but, ultimately, when you see a big company like that actually lose and the judge, and think about it, it is up to you guys, so maybe just in an open format like this, have, X amount of applicants, have 10 minutes to present to, the community, and you guys pick. Could be that simple. Probably won't be though.
Seems so simple. Thanks, Ryan. Anyone else? Do we have anyone on Zoom, Patrick? Okay, all right. We will move on to commissioner comments. Commissioner Campbell.
Well, everybody said my name regarding the blight here tonight. I want everybody to know that this was my issue that I ran on when I originally ran for the city commission. And this is what I hear about when I'm walking around the city. And Mrs. Gosiniak talks about the lady that's whoever has hung the sheet across the front porch, which only makes me want to know even sooner when we are going to be moving forward with our new code enforcement situation and implementing codes like they have in Sterling Heights, where they would not allow something like that. Where are we at with that? Are we going to be getting to that soon? And the letter here with regards to more properties being bought up by investors, that's alarming. So again, we need to move forward quickly so it ultimately is in the best interest of the city and all the residents who live here. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Fournier.
So yes, I know that we get a little passionate about the blight situation, but it's because it can be, I think it can be fixed and I can be better. There's people like Miss Sherry who deals with it, and Tommy and the group. I mean, they cleaned up Carnes. It doesn't take, it's not about spending money, it's about pulling weeds and getting things, using a broom. And there's a lot of people in this city that are willing to help those that cannot do that. And I am for one, and so to the extent that I have any time. But we can do this, folks, and we need to. And I am also hoping for an update on the administrative board that will help us process some of these concerns on a more quick basis. But it's going to be exciting June, lots going on, Juneteenth, the fireworks at the Anton Arts Center. We've got the Mighty Real Queer Detroit exhibit, and it's really cool, people. You should really stop by and see it. They have the Super Sad Art Day on June 11th. Lots going on, so I hope we all participate in it, and we'll see you out there.
Thank you. Commissioner Dempsey.
No comments.
Commissioner Voorhees.
I would just like to bring up Wilson's Cafe. I saw that you were there for the, I believe it's the 130th year?
1885.
They got their plaque.
Was their plaque. Yep, 1885. So didn't do the math.
It's nice to turn around and have businesses that have been here that long and still continue to thrive. The lady, you're a mortgage lender, correct? Okay. When you're at the Juneteenth thing, make sure that you get people who are new residents to purchase the homes and not necessarily midnight convert them into 2 or 3 apartments. Okay, we need people to move in, young families and whatever. Encourage them to do that. I realize that prices are going up in the city, and I understand that the housing stock is thin, but you know what? Let's get individuals to move back into our homes in the city. And with that, once a Clemite, always a Clemite.
Thank you. Commissioner Menzer.
I would like to say congratulations to our graduating class of seniors at Mount Clemens High School. They had a graduation ceremony on Friday where the president of the Board of Education spoke. They had it out at the football field. It was a good day. It was a good day for the kids, that they were able to celebrate with their friends and family and actually be, together outside. We should be proud of them all. I would also like to remind people, and I'm sure Mr. Rick already knows this, but today is D-Day. And so I think everybody should take a minute and remember our World War II veterans and what they went through in Pearl Harbor and Normandy, in the beaches. France had big celebrations today with American citizens that went there. So please take a minute, think about our veterans, and think about the services that they gave and the losses that they've endured. Thank you.
Thank you. I, too, would like to thank the Historical Commission for their invitation to participate in their plaque ceremonies. We did the Wilson's Cafe, and then today they gave Eastside Tavern their plaque as well. So Eastside Tavern, I'm going to go have a burger and go get a picture with the plaque with them because and say congratulations to them. 2 great establishments. I also want to thank the Mount Clemens Beautification Committee for all their work at Carnes, but also all their work at in the downtown. I mean, they've done a fantastic job of planting, along with our DPS workers, a lot of the flowers in downtown, and they did even the pots in Cherry Street Mall this year for the first time. So, we owe them, as they are all volunteers, a debt of gratitude for beautifying our city. If you would like to participate in any of those, they are also accepting volunteers. So they gladly call our office and we will connect you with the beautification committee members for opportunities. If you have a green thumb, we will connect you with them. We actually don't even check to see if your thumb is green, but
Should be black by the time.
it can. It doesn't matter. Yeah. And with that, I will move to, or I will accept a motion to go into closed session to discuss privileged lawyer-client correspondence. Actually, and then we will have a brief break, but.
I move the Mount Clemens City Commission go into a closed session to discuss a privileged lawyer-client correspondence.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We will recess for 5 minutes and then join back for closed session. Commissioner Menzer?
Move to accept the resignation of City Manager Donald E. Johnson dated May 13th, 2022, upon the terms and conditions contained therein.
Do we have a
I thought there
support?
were no conditions.
Do we have a support?
Support.
Okay.
There are conditions. The conditions are the date of it, in the date of its effective date.
Okay.
Those are the 2 conditions.
Okay. Just wanted to check. Thank you for clarifying. Does anybody else have any questions or comments?
Not at this point.
No.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn the
No,
meeting.
yes, call the roll, please.
Dempsey.
Yes.
Fournier.
Yes.
Hammond. Oh, sorry.
Begrudgingly, yes.
Menser.
Yes.
Voorhees.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Now?
Now.
Motion to adjourn.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.